Hi and welcome. I'm Anu Arora and you are watching the English Zone. So today we'll be discussing about the writing mistakes, basically what kind of mistakes are there that the candidates are making and that is stopping them for getting the desired score. So if you are interested in such type of content, you are interested in listening, reading, writing tips, or in case if you are interested in PTE or ESVD session, then subscribe this channel and hit the bell icon to get the latest updates. So let's get started. So, guys, generally, many of the candidates are there. You might be aware of the writing or you might not be aware of the writing. In case if you are not aware of the writing, then I would suggest you to go through the writing pattern first. You can either watch the video on our channel, otherwise, you can get the knowledge from somewhere else. Any of that as you feel comfortable. So many of the candidates are there, they stuck in the writing part. Some are there who are scoring 6.5 but unable to get 7, and some are there whose requirement is 6 overall or 6.5 overall, but they are unable to get that. So today we'll be discussing about the mistakes which we have to completely avoid while doing our writing task. It may be for the task 1, it may be for the task 2, both parts. So let's start. First of all, whenever you are doing journalization, uh, for example, it's acceptable to a degree to journalize when writing about a topic where groups are involved, but take caution when doing it. What's the meaning of that? Generally, it's acceptable in case if you are using or in case if you are journalizing a topic, but you have to be very sure while using a language what kind of words are there which you have to use and what kind of words you have to avoid. Be very careful with that. Let's understand this concept with the help of an example. So you can see bad examples. One side, bad example. Second side, good examples. No one believes that the system works. We don't have to use it in any way. Instead of this, we can use most people don't believe that the system works. Second example, everyone feels the same about this issue. Everyone feels the same about this issue. We don't have to use the word no one, we don't have to use the word everyone. What we can use, the majority of people feel the same about this issue. Third example, Canadian people do not agree with the statement. Canadian people. So, what we can say, few Canadians agree with this statement. Few Canadians means minor issue. So if you are saying that they do not agree, instead of this, you can say few Canadians agree with this statement. Fourth example, it always works out in the end. It works out in the end the majority of the time. Avoid using always in your writing. Okay, now let's move to the next part. Strong language. Make sure the language you use actually expresses your opinion accurately when you are trying to make your point clear. Also, make sure it doesn't offend anyone. Whatever language we are using, whatever wording we are using, the first and foremost thing is it must be completely clear to the reader what we are trying to say. Our message must be properly conveyed to the next person. The second thing, we have to be very sure it doesn't offend anyone, it doesn't hurt anyone. So let's understand this now. Bad examples. This is a terrible idea. You can convert it to this idea is far from ideal. The second one, this opinion is ridiculous. So instead of this, we can say there are no facts to back this opinion. I hope you are clear with it. Let's understand the next part. Colloquial language. What do you understand by the colloquial language? Means like a pairing. When two words are used together. For example, when writing about a topic, be careful of using basic colloquial language. Let's understand this. Bad examples. It's so exciting in this day and age. It's so exciting. At the place of so exciting, it would be better if we are writing very exciting. The second one, it's great that people are able to work longer. So what we can say instead of great, it's fantastic that people are able to work longer. So make sure, be careful about the collocation part. Next one, repeating language. We don't have to repeat the words. In case if we are very strongly agree with something or if we are very strongly disagreed with something, we don't have to highlight it or we don't have to repeat it so many times in a single sentence. For example, it's a very, very demanding position. At the place, or instead of using too very in a sentence, it would be better. It's a very demanding position. The second one, there are a number of really, really negative aspects. There are a number of extremely negative aspects. The figure is much, much larger. The figure is substantially larger. So I hope you are clear with that. Let's move to the next part. Acronyms and abbreviations. What's the meaning of acronyms and abbreviations like short forms? Try to use fully formed verbs instead of acronyms and abbreviations in order to be clear when writing. Avoid short forms, write full forms. Example, this problem needs to be fixed. ASAP. This problem needs to be fixed as soon as possible. The first example, ASAP, this is of abbreviation. Okay, means like short form. Acronyms. Acronyms means something like informal language. For example, it's only okay if the right policies are put in place. It's only acceptable if the right policies are put in place. So at the place of okay, we do have to use acceptable because after all, we are doing writing, and in writing, we have to be completely formal with the language. Next one, spoken language. There are certain words which are acceptable in the speaking, but these are not acceptable in the writing. There are words and phrases that we use when speaking that are acceptable in the speaking test. However, these words and phrases are not acceptable on the writing section of the IELTS test. Because of this, make sure you know the difference between spoken and written English. If you are using the language which is used in the speaking, if you are using the same language in writing, it won't be acceptable at all and you may lose your scores. Okay, let's discuss. Most people want to have security in their position. Most people want to have security in their position. The second one, the rules are gonna be modified. The rules are going to be modified. One and gonna are acceptable in speaking, but not in writing. The next one is numbers and amounts. Try not to be casual when discussing amounts and numbers. We don't have to be very casual. We don't have to be very informal. Let's understand. Bad examples. There are tons of options to consider. Tons of options looks good, very attractive when we are speaking it. But when we are writing, there are several options to consider. To repair this, lots of time is needed. To repair this, a significant amount of time is needed. So be very careful when you are using this language. The next one, formal versus informal. When writing about different topics, try not to be too relaxed. Means we have to be completely formal. We do not have to be informal. Let's understand. The opinions of new and old are basically the same. It looks good while speaking, but in writing, the opinions of old and new are practically identical. There are many things to consider when going back to university. There are many aspects to consider when going back to university. The new policy is better than the old one. The previous policy doesn't stand up to the new policy. See the difference in both examples. The first part, basically the same, practically identical. Second part, many things and many aspects. Third part, new policy is better than the old one. The previous, at the place of old, we have used previous and doesn't stand up to the new policy. Next one, trends. If presented with a graph on task 1 of the writing test, you cannot describe the actual lines on the graph. When the lines are given, you have to describe about the trend. You do not have to explain regarding the line. Bad example. The red line is going through the roof. The line on the graph is shaky. The line is flat. These are bad examples. So how we can replace? The number of people who attended skyrocketed. Skyrocketed means increased. The percentage of language learners fluctuated. Shaking means up, down, up, down, up, down. This kind of trend is there. Fluctuation, same, up, down, and up, down. The line is flat. The amount of money spent was stable throughout the period. So the language, as is mentioned on the right side, it's completely formal one and completely acceptable when you are discussing about writing or whenever you are writing the graph, whenever you are writing an example, even in the essay, the words like skyrocketed, fluctuated, stable, these kind of words you can use in writing as well or in the task 2 as well when you are using the language. Sorry, when you are giving the example. This is very helpful for you. Punctuation. Over and above, the period means full stop and comma. Punctuation can be difficult to use. Punctuation can be a great advantage and possibly lead to a higher band score if used correctly. It can also make your writing appear sloppy if used incorrectly. Rather than using exclamation or question mark or more than one punctuation mark, try to explain yourself clearly. First thing, you don't have to use question mark and exclamation in your writing task. This thing is completely clear and this thing is completely avoidable whenever we have to use. We can use full stop, we can use comma, we can use semicolon, we can use colon. Rest of these marks are acceptable. We can use inverted commas in case if you want to highlight something, but if you are not using it, it's not a kind of compulsory thing. Entirely depends upon you. Bad examples. There needs to be more evidence to prove this point. No exclamation is required over here. We have to write full stop. Does anyone believe this to be true? Many believe this not to be true. So we don't have to use the question marks. We don't have to use the exclamation. We simply have to write the simple sentences or we simply have to justify our point, whatever we want to. You can, there needs to be more evidence to prove this point. There is definitely not enough evidence to prove this point. So needs to be more evidence. There is definitely not enough evidence to prove this point. And here the question is written and we have to write down it in the simple sentence. Next one. Also, one more thing in punctuation. Before trying to add semicolons and colons into your writing, make sure you know how to use them. It's not like you are putting the semicolon in each and every sentence or you are putting colon each and every sentence. You have to be completely aware where to put these. It's important, or I could say that it would surely improve your score if you are using the semicolons or if you are using the colons in your writing, but make sure appropriate usage is required. Otherwise, it may have a negative impact upon your scores. So let's say bad examples. The cow is black and white. It's also young. Now you can see here we have two sentences and we have written comma over here. That is completely incorrect. These are the examples of two independent sentences. The cow, subject, is verb, black and white, object. It, subject, is verb, also young, object. So we have the examples of two independent sentences. And two independent sentences are always connected, are always related, connected with the help of a semicolon. means dot and comma. I'm repeating, whenever there are two independent sentences, means every sentence is having its own subject, its own verb, and its own object. Whenever these kind of two sentences are connected, these are always connected with the help of semicolon. These are not connected with the help of comma. If you are putting a comma, if you are inserting a comma at this position, you can lose your score. Your score surely would be affected. Second one, their colleagues gave them exactly what they required, which was support and recognition. We have written which was, so we don't need to use colon. Their colleagues gave them exactly what they required, support and recognition. That's it. So these are the things that we have to take care of whenever we are doing writing. I know there were certain new things you will be having a kind of doubts in your mind, and your doubts are completely welcome. If you have any problem, you have any doubt, put your doubts in the comment section so that we can respond accordingly. And if everything is completely clear, if you really like the content, what is completely explained, like the video, share it with your siblings, share it with your friends, whosoever needs it or whosoever is struggling to get the bands in the writing section. I hope you like the content. I hope you like the video. And do let me know in the comment section that what kind of video you would like to watch next. Okay, guys, have a good day. Goodbye. Take care.